Well, you should now have read the online page on the metric system. Many of you are familiar with the metric system, but most of us are most comfortable with what we call the English or American or imperial system, sometimes called the foot, pound, second system. The base units for distance, mass, and time are foot, pound, second. And many of the units in this system are actually ultimately based on parts of the human body. We measure volume in gallons, but what's a gallon based on? A gallon has 16 cups, a cup has 8 ounces, an ounce is 2 mouthfuls. That's the ultimate measure, I guess, how much fluid the king could hold in his mouth or something. Distances, the same thing. There was length of the king's foot, 12 inches in a foot, 3 feet in a yard, 220 yards in a furlong, 8 furlongs in a mile, 3 miles in a league. Yikes! Very confusing trying to, somebody asked you how many inches are in a furlong. You have to get a calculator and multiply 12 times 3 times 220. It's just not that convenient. And also the units are not systematically related. How do you relate a pound to a gallon? There's just not necessarily any clear connection. The metric system has a number of advantages because the systems are related. It's based on powers of 10. So if instead of having to say, if I asked you how many meters are in a kilometer, well, it's 1,000. How many, and you could use smaller numbers. Instead of saying 1,200 meters, you could say 1.2 kilometers. Just divide by 1,000. So there's certainly some advantages. And also the metric system is based on fundamental properties of nature. There are 5, the handout describes 7 base units in the metric system. We'll primarily be concerned with 5 of those. Length, the meter, there's a meter stick. A meter is a little bit more than a yard in the metric system, 39 inches in range. Mass is the kilogram. Time is measured in seconds. Electrical current is in the amperes or amps for short. And temperature in the Kelvin or Celsius scale. And you should have a pretty good feeling for what some of these are. A kilometer is about 6/10 of a mile, a little more than half a mile. A liter, not one of the base units, but a common metric unit, is a 2-liter bottle. This is a 1-liter flask, and 2-liter bottles of soda you've all seen. Mass, the baseball bat has a mass of about a kilogram. So there are a lot of advantages to using the metric system. It's certainly easier to use, easier to convert between figures. So why, and the rest of the world uses it, in this global economy, you think there'd be advantages to switching over to what everybody else is using. So why haven't we switched over to the metric system? I'll leave you to think about that. The next thing that you'll be doing for this class, the next assignment, is to watch a video called Powers of 10. Why did I pick that? Well, it's a good follow-on to the metric system, which is based on Powers of 10. And it also ties together a big part of this class into a short little documentary film going from inside of a carbon atom to the farthest reaches of the universe, stepping in and out in Powers of 10. There's a short documentary made by a married couple, Ray and Charles Eames, back in 1977. It's won awards. If you are an interior design major or an arts major, perhaps you've heard of the Eames. They were furniture designers for the Herman Miller Furniture Company back in the 50s. And they came up with some very innovative designs of chairs and ottomans made with molded plywood and leather. Many of these pieces of furniture are in the New York Museum of Modern Art now. And in fact, the Postal Service has recently come out in 2008 with a stamp honoring a lot of their designs. So this film depicts the relative scale of the universe in powers of 10. It starts with a sleeping man at a picnic. The film takes us on a journey out to the edge of space and then back into the inside of a carbon atom in the hand of the sleeping man. The film is a little bit old, and of course it was limited to what was known at the time of its production in 1977. And quarks, for example, towards the end of the film are mentioned merely as a possibility, as a question. But we now have direct evidence of their existence from particle accelerator experiments. So go ahead and watch this film, and then if you're interested, there's a fun little link afterwards that you can link to see another version of the film. I hope you enjoy that. Enjoy the film.